They not only have they never put it in their journal, they've stripped it off their website.
It's off the website? I didn't know that.
Pardon me?
I didn't know it was off the website. You know, I was part of I was invited by MUFON about a year and a half ago to participate in a study that dealt exactly with these issues. It was a very restricted group. We met in Colorado. I talked with the current leader of MUFON. John Schuessler was there also. He had recently been retired as head of MUFON, and this was going to be part of a MUFON initiative to promote this kind of core understanding of the UFO reality. So I'm surprised that it's off the website.
Yeah, I don't know that you read too much into it. It may be just an oversight of some sort, because I mean that's basically a mission statement for MUFON, always has been.
Yeah, and it's more important that it's on the website, in my opinion, than the journal. The journal's circulation is a couple of thousand at the most, whereas at the website, you know, I'm sure they're going to reach more people.
But you know what, Dan? We're in contact with James Carrion, who's the head of MUFON now. We'll mention it to him, see what he says.
Yeah,
Thanks for your
absolutely.
call. They appreciate it. We're going to go to Jesse in Santa Barbara on the wild card line. Jesse, how you doing? Jesse is not there. East of the Rockies, Minnie in Kentucky.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, I'm okay. No, I'm not doing too well. If a Martian showed up on my doorstep right now, I'd pity the fool. I'm in that kind of a mood for geopolitical reasons. But anyhow, hon, to get to my point, I think that, you've presented kind of a punch bowl of little goodies and interesting things, but some of it's starting to get confusing. When you mention people like Brzezinski and David Rockefeller, these people are basically the kind of heart and soul of Bilderbergers and elite groups, and they're the ones that are pleading for information on the Martian, or, on the spacemen. Well, without their purse strings, we wouldn't have black ops. So, what about this? I mean, this doesn't make any sense.
I don't think you heard Richard's position on this correctly. Go ahead, Richard.
Maybe not.
Well, yeah, what I have been saying, what I would continue to say is that those people have ultimate control over the direction of what we're doing on a behind-the-scenes level. They manage the political process, not just of this country, but I think of all countries. So I'm not really sure what the discrepancy you're seeing in. I mean, Brzezinski is very tight right now with Barack Obama, and in fact, what I'm suggesting is that if Obama is a disclosure president, it's only going to be because he's got the backing of the elites, and that they'll have some reason for wanting him to make this disclosure.
But what I'm asking you, though, is, and I've heard this before, that David Rockefeller keeps wanting disclosure.
No, not David Rockefeller.
It's Lawrence Rockefeller.
Lawrence Rockefeller. Now, they're brothers, okay? Lawrence is recently deceased. Lawrence Rockefeller did, this is very important history, during the beginning of the Clinton administration, push very hard for a disclosure, some kind of disclosure initiative with the Clinton White House. And in fact, Lawrence Rockefeller met with Hillary Clinton, certainly on this issue at his ranch in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, possibly met with Bill Clinton about this directly too, and spoke with high-level members of Clinton's staff. It's a good question to ask, why was Lawrence Rockefeller so interested in getting this out? Was he acting on behalf of the elite, or was he acting in a private capacity? People can do that. And the one thing that I would mention about the elite is I don't believe necessarily that they're this monolithic entity. I think that there are always factions involved, whether it's ancient Rome with Caesar and Cicero, or today with other elites. They don't always share the same opinion.
Maybe even in the same family, then. Lawrence Rockefeller is seeing it differently than David.
So I would leave it open as that there are members on the inside who are sympathetic to what we're trying to do. And as far as with the Rockefeller Initiative, it's quite possible that Lawrence Rockefeller wanted this out. One reason to think he was interested, by the way, is that his estates, the Rockefeller estates, are in Pocantico, New York, lower New York State, during the early 1980s, during what was called the Hudson Valley wave of sightings. This is right there. This is their backyard. Now, if UFOs are silently flying over your house or my house we might not be able to do much about it. But if you're a Rockefeller, well, then you could do something about it. And I have wondered if part of that was playing into it, but can't know.
Minnie, does that answer your question? Minnie's gone.
Okay. Well, I did the best I could.
She is there. Minnie, you still there?
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
It does, but there's one little aside. Before he said that they took presidents that they thought were mentally stable to handle things, and he mentioned Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, and I think old man Bush. And I had to laugh. These are the guys that they considered. I mean, I thought that was funny. So I thought, you might enjoy.
That could be.
It made me laugh. Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks, Minnie. Yeah, I guess it's a matter of degrees who they decide is sane enough to handle it.
Well, it wasn't all mental stability. That was one thing that this person mentioned. I don't think he was implying that all of the presidents were mentally unstable, but he did mention the whole question that not all were considered mentally reliable. I think might have been a better way to put it.
Well, you think about Reagan, too, the story that's floated around about him whispering something at the White House when the screening of E.T., the movie.
Right.
Did you ever find anything that suggests that was true?
Well, the story comes from Jamie Chanderay, actually, who got it, he says, from Steven Spielberg when they were both in Japan in the early 80s. Chanderay was the person to whom the MJ-12 documents originally were leaked at the end of 1984, and he knew Steven Spielberg. They both did movies, and they were both in Japan at the same time. And according to Chanderay, he chatted with Spielberg privately, and this is what Steven Spielberg said, which was that at the filming of the E.T. movie in 1983 at the Reagan White House, Reagan privately went up to Spielberg and said, "There aren't 6 people in this whole room who know how true that story is."
Richard Dolan, stick around. We'll come back with more calls as we go into the break with one of the great all-time rock and roll alien songs. Stay with us on Coast to Coast. That's The Boss, Bruce Springsteen. The song is The Rising, and it's sort of appropriate for where our country is right now. We're kind of heading into a new era, a new time, a lot of hope in the country, and one of the concerns and questions is whether or not part of the new mix is going to be disclosure about UFOs. When we come back, we'll have more of your questions for our guest, Richard Dolan. Plus, I want to ask him about something he mentioned early in the show, and that's about this secret space program that he thinks may really exist out there. Stay with us on Coast to Coast AM. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. We have a couple of minutes left with Richard Dolan, author of The UFOs and the National Security State, soon to be a sequel. Richard, you mentioned early in the interview about a secret space program and the possibility, you believe it's entirely possible we do have one. What kind of evidence, what level of confidence do you have in saying that?
I think that we probably have a secret space program, if for no other reason that there have been a large number of anomalies videotaped in space in the upper atmosphere that are freely available for anyone to see. Unfortunately, a gentleman died a year ago who collected a lot of this data. His name is Jeffrey Challenger. Jeff's website is still up, however. It's called projectprove.com. And what Jeff did, he was disabled, and he spent a lot of his time downloading NASA videos, live links, also from the European Space Agency and also from Russia and most recently China. And he would put them on his site. And Jeff was not the kind of guy who would just say, I believe everything that I see and it's all extraterrestrial. But he had a very good analytical approach, I think, to these events. But what stands out is that there are so many strange things that are on these videos, and you can just watch them for yourself at projectprove.com. So I think that there's evidence for anomalous activity in space. Now the question is this our anomalous activity, or is it not our anomalous activity? But it seems to me either way, this provides a very good reason to believe that there is a secret program. For example, if it's not ours, if there are extraterrestrials who are flitting about doing U-turns in space, that's one video, then you'd have to assume that there would be secret components to our own space program to try to deal with that in a covert manner. The other reason I think that there could very well be a secret space program, probably is, there's 2 other reasons I can think of off the top, is the case of Gary McKinnon. Now, Gary McKinnon was a kind of X-Files-style British hacker who a number of years ago